Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have a special feature here on Meph and Massy Mondays. I am, of course, Mashiakasaurus. With me, as always, is Meph.
Hello.
And today, rather than play a co-op game, this is a video that I've been wanting to make for a while. We're going to be discussing a particular tabletop game that I found ages and ages ago that really bears going over. So, if you will indulge me, we're going to talk about Chaos 6010 AD. And Meph, you probably want to actually see what's going on, don't you?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Meph. Okay, so Chaos 6010 AD. I feel I need to preface this because I'm going to get very critical over this. I do appreciate this game for what it is. I think there's some really good ideas behind it, and I think that given, I don't know, some more time or something, you could polish this up and it could be a really good game. It is not a good game, but I feel like the effort should be appreciated. And
he made something.
Yeah, I mean, like this is something that was made. This was self-published, but it was published. So I mean, you know, kudos to the author, Brandon Williams Rogue. We'll get into that. But kudos to him. He did produce something, and it's not complete garbage. But I am going to get very critical with this, because this game does a lot of things badly. And I feel like, in terms of RPG design, you learn better from seeing what doesn't work, almost, than you do from seeing what does work. So, speaking of, this is the cover that we were dealing with here. It is a skull design in front of what I assume is some kind of satanic rune or something that's been swirled to the point where you can't read it. And just 6010 AD. I actually kind of like what they were going for with this. Like, it's a very striking design. If you saw this on store shelves, this would jump out at you. But
design is my passion.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, it's very obvious that they just took a swirl tool and swirled around the stuff. I mean, like, look at right here. You can see where the static background image stuff that they've got kind of gets caught up and swirled around with the satanic symbol.
You see, but I don't mind that at all, because if you're not an artist,
it's a good amateur work, but it's very amateur. The skull is very low res. You should definitely be using something that's like higher res and less.
No, what
grainy.
you should be doing is, if you're doing something like this, you get an artist.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Ideally, you would
get somebody who knows design.
As somebody with years of design experience, like, this is not even an offensive cover.
Yeah.
What's offensive is the text.
The text is very offensive, and we will get to that. There's no excuse for the text in this book. But
I'm actually a fan of the pseudo-anarchy A in AD.
Yeah, like it really gets across the style that the game is going for, which is very like dude bro edgy kind of like stuff.
It's very honest. It's a very honest cover. You know what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I do want to say, if you saw this on store shelves, like, it would stand out from the crowd. Like, this would look different. This would draw your eye. So kudos for that. Maybe next time do it a little different. And here we have the back cover. So, I'm going to read this gigantic block of text here. After the time of the apocalypse and the age of darkness, age of darkness being capitalized, so you know it's something special, a new empire has risen from the decadence of Earth. I'm 90% sure you're using that wrong. An alliance of humans and an ancient alien race known as the Eldrin have formed the Armethian Empire. Magic, technology, and the theocratic government known as the Order have strengthened the structure of the known galaxy. 90% sure that you're not correct in that either. The might of the military have assimilated many races under its own rule through diplomacy and endless war, veering into 40k territory, and also the military have assimilated. It's the military has assimilated.
Wow, grammar much?
Yes, well, this is, I mean...
I know.
If you're presenting this for other people, yeah, like, you want it to be grammatically correct. Anyway, yet now, in the Age of Adventure, again, Age of Adventure is capitalized, so you know it's something special, demons from the 6th dimension have once again found their way to the primordial realm. Oh, that happened again, did it? Heroes and villains... Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say, Meph?
Did the primordial realm notice if
sixth dimensional?
Yeah, 6th dimensional demons showed up? I mean, it's primordial.
Yeah.
Does it even exist?
I have no idea. Anyway, heroes and villains alike must choose their path to immortality, struggle to survive, and stop the hordes of darkness from consuming their own dimension. I thought you were stopping them from consuming your dimension, not the hordes of darkness's own dimension. Or did you just mess up the placement of your, like, adjectives and stuff? You must choose your own destiny. Good to know. You must walk under the path of light, shadow, or darkness. Crush your enemies with fist, blade, gun, and spell, while you complete quests and missions for adventure, reputation, glory, wealth, and power. Stand alone, or as part of a crew of powerful allies that struggle within a dark and distant future. Become mighty warriors or spellcasters. Become heroes or villains that can reign powerful enough to create their own empires and command their own armies. Select from over 20 different alien races and over 20 different character classes. We'll get to it. Build your character to become as powerful as the Immortals with over 100 levels of advancement. He's not fucking kidding, folks. This game is insane in its scope.
100 painful, excruciating levels.
Yes. Hold on one second, Mev. I'm going to lower your volume down a little bit. I think I over-adjusted it.
It's my channel now.
Okay. So, let's see. 100 levels of advancement. Choose from hundreds of different level advancement abilities and talents within a system designed for endless gameplay. You may even continue playing powerful characters after their death, with rules for an afterlife campaign that moves into the 6th dimension, the spirit world, where you may one day reach the status of angel or demon. Again, he's not kidding. Like, there's like 100 levels of angel advancement and devil advancement, too. You will discover how eternal the universe is with... What? That doesn't make a lot of sense. With rules that let you travel across the multiverse while adventuring to new worlds, star systems, and galaxies. That's a blatant lie. There is no intergalactic travel in this game. That's just not happening. Chaos 6010 AD allows for a completely upgradable game system. Not sure what that means, but it's certainly not true. Encouraging you to create your own worlds, alien races, weapons, spells, monsters, or anything else you may wish to design. There are plenty of random tables to help you construct these ideas and adapt them to the system. He loves him some random tables, let me tell you. But the reason that it's so easy to homebrew this game is because there's literally no effort made towards game balance whatsoever. So literally anything that you come up with is fine. We'll get to it. Endless adventures await game masters and players of fantasy/sci-fi role-playing. A game that has been 10 years in the making. Don't brag about that. Do you have what it takes to survive the legendary realms of Chaos 6010 AD? Here we have a clearly inserted logo for Arcanum Syndicate, which is the publisher. And over here, warning, censored harsh language, violence, and other stupid BS that certain people might whine about. Yeah. Yeah.
You're whining about it?
Yeah. Only certain people.
Yep.
Not anyone. Certain people, they need those with, a reasonable sense of human decency.
Yeah, basically.
Those people.
Also, they used some kind of posterization filter on the Chaos 6010 text here, which makes it look just really goofy. Like, it looks like it's embossed or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know what filter they used, but it looks goofy as shit. Also, red text on a black background, very good idea. You should definitely do that. It doesn't make it hard to read at all.
I really like the gradient.
Oh yeah, the gradient from red to white. Like, honestly,
yes, you couldn't have just kept it white.
Yeah, honestly, like the white or pink tones down here would have been great. Like, it would have been fine.
I'm honestly shocked they even allowed this much pink in a publication that tries so hard to be so toxically masculine.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. This is definitely not an LGBTQ friendly game. I mean, not because it can't be, but just because, like, the author is definitely not in those circles.
You don't know. You don't know.
So, this section right here, it's an example of the narration. It's basically a short story version of setting the scene. It's actually pretty good. There's some interesting, like, description in here, and it's cool, and it's completely fucking unreadable because they put an image behind the text. I don't know why they did this. It's really fucking obnoxious.
Yeah, like, they do that in every newspaper. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, this is just...
they take space by putting the pictures behind the words.
Yeah, this is so awful. Like, and in fairness to Chaos, this came out in 2008. In 2008, you had, like, Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition and stuff, and they were doing similar stuff, but just because a big company does something wrong does not mean that you should copy them doing it wrong. Like, they've definitely... I've seen Wizards products that also have... Wizards of the Coast products that have images behind text that make it obnoxiously hard to read, too.
And they did make the Rogue's Handbook.
Yes. Okay, so, now... I think you're starting to get a feel for what we were talking about the text in this game.
It gets worse.
The table of contents here shows, like, a bunch of the stuff in the book, and your eyes are not deceiving you. This is entirely written in Comic Sans. The entire book is written in Comic motherfucking Sans.
It's an artistic masterpiece, a completely unironic design choice.
Yeah.
It was done this way because they thought it would look good.
I mean, that's probably true, and also that's very sad.
I also really enjoy certain eyesores, like the center, bold, and underline of those section heads.
Yep.
And the just total lack of, like, paying any attention to how that line spacing looks.
Yeah, like all of these should be lined up over here in a straight line, so that you can easily reference them, the page number references. Also, like, I'm 95% sure that some of these page references are incorrect, but, like everything else, we'll get to it. This is an example of some of the extremely random art you'll find in this book. My understanding is that the author did most or all of the art himself. I don't really have any complaints about the art. It's kind of cool and interesting.
The art really is okay. It's one of the only things about this that like I really actually like.
Yeah.
Is the art, because even though it's clearly, you know, I don't necessarily like the term amateur because it's kind of like an underhanded insult. But it's not. It is. It's not like that. This isn't somebody that is, you know, professionally drawing fantasy art. At least at the time, outside of maybe some commission work here and there. You know, it's not what you would see on like the cover of your favorite Forgotten Realms novel or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
But it's cool. You can see what they were going for, and it's very detailed.
Yeah. Continuing with the table of contents, because yes, we were nowhere close to done. I like this this drawing right here where Dorf is firing a belt-fed Nerf gun at some off-screen enemies. That's very cool. But that's
actually a great example of what I was just talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm making fun of it a little bit, but like honestly, it comes from a place of love, because I actually like think that this style of art, it's very like, I sketched this out in a high school notebook kind of way, but not bad.
I've seen art by people who claim to be really good at it, and it looks nowhere near as good as this guy can draw.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not. I mean, this isn't professional level, but
there's
like,
no lack of talent behind it. His
Yeah.
proportions are good. He's got a certain style he's going with. Little bit of polish, few classes, probably could do higher grade, but you know, for what it is, from somebody who probably doesn't consider themselves an artist, or they might, I don't know. It's still pretty good.
Yeah, it honestly,
the
it
part
is.
about this is the muzzle flash that just looks like he's spraying out of like a weed killer cannon.
Yup. Again, we kid, but like this is actually like very
Better
good.
than I can do.
This is better than some of the official like first edition Dungeons and Dragons art. So, like, you know. And here we have the title page. So, creation of the Arcanum Syndicate, we'll get to it. Written by Brandon Williams Rogue. Game design, Brandon Williams Rogue. Artwork, Brandon Williams Rogue. I'm the only one who does anything around this mother. Senior editor Todd Bauman. Edited by Mandy Williams, Rogue, and Dave Whitting. Copyright 2008. Every time that you see Brandon Williams Rogue referenced in this book, he writes it like this. With the exception of this right here, it's always Brandon Williams Rogue, with Rogue in quotation marks. That's not how you put a nickname. It should be Brandon, quote-unquote, Rogue Williams. That's how you write out a proper name with a nickname. Like, you don't put it after the fact. Like, it's just a little weirdness, oddity thing that bugs me. I've kind of come. Oh, go ahead.
It does the same thing. Are we going to talk about how it does the same thing with the playtesters?
Yes. And like, I've got more that I want to talk about the playtesters with, because yeah, that's a hell of a thing. But I've kind of come to call these like odd phrasings and odd like layout choices and stuff chaosisms, because they're errors that I only ever see in this book and nowhere else. So Meph, you mentioned the playtesters, and every playtester is listed with a nickname in parentheses this time, and then a quote. Not really sure what the point of these quotes is. I also want to point out, and I don't know why I don't know why this caught my eye, but like he's got a bunch of playtesters listed for Japan, but almost every single one of these has a Western name. Randy, Larry, Mike, Joe. I don't really think that a lot of native Japanese people have names like that. And I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the significance of that is. But it definitely caught my eye. It's just weird looking. Mandy Williams, it never says it outright, but I'm pretty sure that Mandy Williams is his wife. Because not only is she listed as a playtester, but she's also listed as an editor. And by the way, he's listing 4 editors here. Himself, his wife, presumably, Dave Whitting, and Todd Bowman. I don't think that this book was edited. Like, if it was edited, all they did was do a quick once-over and then rubber stamp it and call it good.
Or like, worse, it's a case where they did the editing and he was just like, no, that needs to stay in.
Yeah, and then reverted it.
And superseded everything that they did.
Yeah, like...
Both could be likely.
Yeah, there's too many errors in this book for me to believe that it was, like, critically edited. And then, I don't know what this indicates. You've got a bunch of people here from the United States, and here they tell us that it's titles and screw-up quotes, but up here they didn't tell us that. And then there's a line, for some reason, and not even a solid line, it's a dashed line, and then more that just seems to be the same thing.
Is like, at this point, we're just shitting on this guy's, like, inability to edit.
I mean, in fairness.
That's as deep as we've gone so far, and there's just so much. Like, I'm surprised this many playtesters survived the ordeal.
I don't know. Like,
this game.
I would like to point out, though, Mandy Williams is listed as a playtester. Brandon Williams Rogue is listed as a playtester. Dave Whitting is listed as a playtester. Todd Bowman is listed as a playtester. Also, Todd, their senior editor, apparently can't count because 11 plus 12 is 13. Which explains a lot, really. Like, every single one of them that worked on this book credited themselves as a playtester. And I think from where I'm sitting, as far as I'm concerned, if you wrote the book, it is implied that you playtested it, but you shouldn't list yourself as a playtester. Like, that just seems crass to me. That, like, because of course you did some playtesting with it, you wrote it. Anyway, any similarities between names, places, or subjects within this book are unintentional. This is just a game. Do not act out any of the occurrences within your adventures in real life, please. Act out any of the occurrences within your adventures. Like, another chaosism. Like, it's not that he's using those words wrong, but god damn, that's an awkward-ass sentence, isn't it? Like...
I mean, yeah, generally we're used to, like, the boilerplate, like, I can't even think of it off the top of my head, but you know what I mean. Like, there is an actual boilerplate of, like, don't do that. Don't do this.
Right. I mean, there's got to be a easier way to put it, though, than don't act out any of the occurrences. And the dedication. I dedicate this book to myself. For all the hard work and suffering you have shown through the years. Thanks, buddy. I couldn't have done it without you.
Ouch.
Yeah, just, did you break your arm patting yourself on the back there, dude? Also to my wife and daughter, I love you both with all my soul. Thank you for everything. No comment there, that's fine. Also to all my friends and allies for playtesting. Allies? Like, Did you have to form a military alliance for playtesting?
Probably.
Okay, come on. You got to give that one a hand wave because he's speaking of like allied in-game characters.
That's fair.
References to the people that played the game with him. That's just in good fun.
The last part though really catches my eye every time. To my old friend Simon Yates, who did not get to see the printing of the game, we will battle again when I reach the 6th dimension. And I feel like, that's such a common phrase these days that it's shocking to see where it originated from in this book that nobody's read. What the hell are you going on about? We will battle again when I reach the 6th dimension. Oh my lord. This is the book's credits and dedication page. We are not even into the actual game. And again, I do want to emphasize, I do like this game, and I wish these guys well. I hope that they've made some money off of this. They deserve it. They
made $10 off of you. You bought this.
They did make $10 off of me, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. I do not regret it at all. But
I regret playing it.
I am going to give these guys all of the shit for every misspelling and every horrible thing that they've done wrong, because they've done a lot. And again, I feel like by looking at what this book does wrong, it's a very useful guide to how to do something right in the future. Here we go with the history. Again, he's got a picture behind the text. It's less obnoxious in this case because it's just kind of a grayscale landscape. I'm not going to go over and read all of this. I will read a portion of it. But this is basically the backstory of the game, which is that an asteroid hit the Earth and it had a portal that summoned demons inside it, and so the demons came out and destroyed the world. I do want to read the first paragraph though, because holy shit, this guy's prose makes my writing look good. On January 18th, 2206 AD, the old world came to an end. The entire planet Earth suffered through the greatest disaster it had ever known. The realm known to us was changed by an asteroid from ages long past. This fireball of the gods could not be stopped by the technology of man. Thus it became the demise of the old world. All that had been achieved became undone. This world could not be saved by any amount of prayers or mathematical equations. The universe is, and always will remain, a being of neutrality, not caring if those that dwell within it live or die, or are evil or good. It simply exists. It simply is. Oh my god.
We live in a society.
Mathematical equations. That's how we stop asteroids.
Prayers or mathematical equations.
Yep. It's bad and dumb. Then we have a timeline. Timelines were popular at this point in game design. Oh, and hey, Tixicophanes. I hope I pronounced that right. We are reading through Chaos 6010 AD, and
it's a game we've played, regrettably.
It's a doozy. It's a doozy. The timeline here is mostly irrelevant items.
But on October 4th of 2874, they saw their first dragon.
Yes, that's true. First dragon. And, the Age of Darkness ended. And, the Eldrin and the humans make a pact. That doesn't actually tell us anything about what the pact was. First cybernetic implantations was in 3671 AD. That seems, really far in the future, especially considered that the first androids were created in 3012. Like,
which seems unreasonable because we actually already have.
I know, right? You can already. We already have.
It works.
Like medical
android robotics and cyber implants.
Yeah. No. We're at least 1,000 years out from robots and 1,500 years out from cyborgs. Obviously.
Dr. Shiana Sims, an Eldrin physicist, discovers how to move through space faster than the speed of light.
Yep.
Warp drive is achieved by elves and men.
Yeah, by the way, elves are here. The Eldrin that they mentioned in the intro on the back of the book. Yeah, those are elves.
Space elves.
They're literally called elves.
Yeah.
So
I like how faster than light travel was found in 3005. But the first mining colony of Mars is completed in 4,456.
Not only that, but faster than light travel was invented in 3005, and then also in 3950.
No, that's the warp drive. That's totally different.
Oh, that's completely different from the faster than light drive. I see. I get
the warp drive that is achieved by elves and men is completely different from the warp drive.
Yeah. And this keeps going
on. It's foolish of you to have confused them.
This just goes on and on. Like, it ends down here in January 1st, 6010. Today it's your turn to kick ass. Like, there's so much stuff going on in here that none of it matters.
Hold on. The creation of the MTU, Matter Teleportation Unit.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the Star Trek transporter. Which, by the way, they have them in this universe, and they fucking suck because there's always a 1% chance that you'll just fucking die when you use it.
I really like the that just over like 110 years later, the blood mage leader of the Dark Brotherhood discovers an artifact to open a soul gate.
Yeah.
So, thus making the MTU and completely just useless.
Yep. Also, like, a mutant named Koranger started the Dark Brotherhood in 2276.
Wow, that's a pretty long cult.
Yeah. Koranger is killed in 3056. This was before he became an undead lich. Like, he just lived for like a millennia.
That's fine.
Here we have oh, sorry?
I said, geez, like look at that. Look at that leadership chart. Scroll up a little. Like, oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a breakdown of how the like military and government works. The Crimson Legion. And notice the Arcanum Syndicate, that's the name of the company that published this. He named his company after an in-universe agency. They're basically the CIA.
In fairness, I'm pretty sure the Imperial Marines, the Crimson Legion, and the Shadow Legion appear in every game ever made ever.
Basically.
So, I mean, we can't really fault them.
I mean, certainly any space-themed game. And then here we go with the Church of Saul, the Order and Law Enforcement, and the Church of Darkness.
The Church of Better Call Saul?
I like how they consider bounty hunters as freelance law enforcement.
I mean, yeah, if you've got to have, like, you know, a license and everything, then that makes sense.
And also, they call their police officers city guard. This is true even if they're not in a city. Like, if they pull you over in space, they're still the city guard out there in space.
I need to know what the jurisdiction is, where the jurisdiction lines are drawn in the void of space.
Yeah. I tell you. And then
you were going .0000003.
Yeah. light speed.
Light years over the limit.
This just kind of goes over the setting again in very broad strokes. I'm not gonna read it because it's perfectly straightforward and fine. Except for they have a image behind the text that makes parts of it really freaking hard to read. I really hate that. I wish they would stop doing that. Fortunately, they do more or less stop doing that. You don't see it much after this. And now we're into game mechanics already. And here's where things are going to bog down. Like, because we've been so speedy going through all of this so far. 27 frenzy is how much spenzy I've frent. Apparently that is a quote that was so funny that it had to be included in the final game. Not sure why. I don't actually think it is very funny.
I'm trying to figure it out by deciphering what they were smoking.
Yeah.
Because I want to have some too.
Yeah, seriously.
I want to have what they smoked.
There's probably some good stuff.
They do go over role playing, which I'm not going to complain about. That's it's good to address that you feel like, just treat a player as if they've never played an RPG before, because like you never know, somebody might not have. In this case, it's not a real great introduction to RPGs because it's very 1996 type of, like, the game master is all powerful, players have no say in anything outside of their character, stuff that really doesn't fly in 2023 and didn't in 2008. Players should have a little more agency. I do like the line under the game master, "You are the teller of tales, the lord of the table." That's another chaosism for you. Add it to the list.
Why don't you have that on a shirt, actually?
Yeah, actually, like, that is something that I should put on a t-shirt sometime. Because that is a fucking great line.
I am the lord of the table. I'm the master of snacks. I am the mountain of dew.
There is, down at the bottom in gaming accessories, he talks about the different dice that you need, battle maps. If you're doing it in live action, like tabletop, like on a battle map, it talks about how 1 inch on the map is 5 feet in miniature combat. So, like, anything that lists inches instead of feet, 1 inch is 5 feet. So,
because, it would not have been okay to just be consistent about what units they're using.
Yeah. Also, he contradicts himself immediately. Like, 1 inch in reality equals 5 feet in miniature combat. Therefore, a grenade might have a blast radius of 1.5 inches, thus meaning the diameter of the blast will be 15 feet. No. If it had a diameter of, he's going radius to diameter, which is confusing as shit.
Mess that up. Diameter would be 30 feet.
Yeah. If it was 3 inches, the diameter would be 30 feet.
Well, remember, the editor can't math.
Yeah, that is very true. The editor does not know how to math. And then he talks about other props, music, soundtrack. And then at the end, it's up to you to decide. I'm just trying to give you ideas, so F you, alright?
Wow.
Yep. This game actively insults the reader, and it does it a lot.
It does it, like, a lot, and each time it's supposed to be hysterical.
Yeah, it's supposed to be tongue-in-cheek, and it just really comes off more as just mean and crass.
It's kind of that one dude in your friend group that just didn't quite mature the way everybody else did. And they're alright, they're still like a blast to have around, but sometimes you're like, buddy.
Yeah.
Just simmer down. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's
okay to just not every once in a while.
Yeah. So we go into talking about tracking time. Turns, rounds, sessions, campaign. Fine, that makes sense. It's exactly what you think it is. Then it goes into talking about actions. And it talks about how you have 2 unarmed, 2 melee, 2 armed, and 0 magic actions for most characters. Monks and Mudai begin the game with 3 unarmed attacks due to their knowledge of unarmed combat. Sure. Yes. Tixicophanes. I'm sorry. I'm stumbling over your name every time. This is basically like D&D. It's just a really bad version of D&D in outer space.
I enjoy the occasional use of an ampersand in place of the word "and" for no reason.
Yeah.
Like actually, in the text, like in the body of text, not in like titles and stuff.
Yeah, he does. For instance, down here, actions and attacks, he's using an ampersand instead of the word "and."
I would rate this closer to a Palladium game than D&D.
Palladium
plays fast and loose with its rules too.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because this game actually has a lot that is influenced from Palladium games, and also from Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition, and very much Warhammer 40k, which I'm at a bit of a disadvantage on because I don't know anything about Warhammer 40k beyond what I've picked up from cultural osmosis. I know that there's Space Marines and other aliens, and there is only war, but I don't know the actual rules and stuff of the game. But he's very heavily influenced by 40k, among other things.
For the Skull Throne.
He mentions that drawing a weapon is considered an action, and it says actions are not stressed in non-combat situations, yet it is important for the GM to never center too much on one character's actions. The other players might get a little anxious or even angry if Dave's character has been talking to his Kinect for 10 minutes in real time while the other players sit suspended under the big pause button. Yeah. Big pause button, guys. It's good advice to not hog the spotlight for any one character, but again, that's a chaosism. There's got to be a better way to phrase that. Chaos uses 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 20-sided dice. And then it talks about how to read that. So 2d8 means 2 8-sided dice. Therefore, for all you dumbasses, 2d8 really means to use 2 8-sided dice. Again, the game just randomly insults you. It's
that's just
it's aggressive and pointless, and he's trying to be funny. He's trying to be playful and do it in a good-natured kind of way, but that's not how it comes off.
You never insult your pocketbook.
Yeah.
You never insult your audience. You never insult the people who are giving you money.
So at this point, obviously we know enough about the game to just...
There's never enough in it.
We obviously know enough about the game at this point to dive right into character fucking creation, right? We've talked about how actions and attacks are counted. That basically is all the rules you need, right?
Sure.
Yeah. We don't know what to roll or when or why, but,
We don't know anything about attributes.
Yeah, he's going to go into attributes. Attributes are a whole thing. like basically every page of this book is a whole thing. But yeah. So step 1, character creation. So okay, we'll walk through this. Step 1 is to pick a race. Races given in the book are few of many alien species. The basic races are the most common found on planet Earth. Once your character's race has been decided, configure all attributes for your persona. Like, what the hell? Are we playing Persona 5 or some shit? Like, why configure? Like, distribute, maybe? Not configure. Configure makes it sound like you're...
He's using $100 words for like a $5 sentence.
Yeah. And also, he left out one very important part. What are the fucking races? Like, they're not listed here.
Or at least tell them where to be found.
Yeah. Just explain that, like, you know, they're on page whatever. Like, this game does have a shit ton of races, an unnecessary number of them. So I understand not having them all listed right here. But you need to tell your players or your reader where to find them. Character attributes. The main attributes are listed here. Well, okay, so these are just the main ones. I guess there are others that will also come along. They will define the character's abilities under certain circumstances. What are the circumstances? Roll or configure. There's 7 attributes. Strength, body, dexterity, intelligence, perception, willpower, and charisma. If you have played Dungeons and Dragons, then you will note that strength, dexterity, intelligence, intelligence, and charisma are all standard attributes in Dungeons and Dragons. Body maps 1-to-1 to Constitution from Dungeons and Dragons, and perception and willpower are just 2 aspects of Dungeons and Dragons wisdom attribute. So basically D&D attributes is what we're going with. And you generate them in the same way. 4d6, drop the lowest, and roll it 7 times and divide it up. However, like, and I really do not like rolled attributes for games because the random, like, you're introducing randomness in a way that, like, can screw over a player early on in a way that they can never recover from. And there's more to it, but I don't want to go into it right now. The important thing is, I'm not a fan of rolling for attributes. This game does provide an alternate system that you can use, a point-buy system, where you get 100 points and you divide that up across your 7 attributes. Now, you can put up to 18 points in any one slot, and you have to put at least 3 in every one. So, let me just pull my calculator up here. We have 100 points divided by 7 attributes. Gives us an average of 14.28 blah, 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 blah in every attribute. By comparison, if we were to roll 4d6 and drop the lowest, the average roll on that, the average roll on a 3d6 is about a 10 or an 11. It's like 10.5. If you rolled 4d6, drop the lowest, then it bumps it up to an average of about 12.5. Which you will notice is smaller than this. So not only does point buy give you better control over your character's attributes, but statistically, your character will have better attributes if you choose point buy than if you do random roll. This is a case of he did not do the math. And as you saw, the math was very difficult. It took me 2 seconds. So, yeah, that's a thing. Down here it talks about being smarter than they're strong or blah, blah, blah. Remember, refer to the attribute modifications. Modifications is possessive instead of plural. given to the character because of its race, the races that you haven't listed. Also, its is a contraction of it is instead of its possessive. Come on, guys. Strong Bad taught us this. If you want to be possessive, it's just its. Unless it's a contraction, then it's it apostrophe s. Scalawag. Come on. Come on. Like,
perfect. Yes. Yep.
Anyway, other modifications maybe later to determine the actual attribute of your... Oh, hey, Babacus. And yeah, that is a good song. Like, Strong Bad's full of good songs. HomestarRunner.com was a hell of a place. And he's got all of his cartoons on YouTube. So, like, you know, go watch them. They're good still. This is Chaos 6010, a role-playing game made by someone who does not know how to make a role-playing game.
In fairness, they did actually make a game.
I mean, yes, they did. And again, I do give them props for that. Chaos 6010 is many things, but it does exist. And, like, you know, I wish the guy well. I hope he's making money off of this, because this is a shit ton of effort. Even if there are mistakes, even if there are problems with it, like... My
one big complaint, don't insult the people who buy your book.
I kind of wish that he wouldn't insult the reader constantly, but, yeah. It's a hell of a thing, but...
I just wish there had been less racism, but that's me.
I mean...
that's just me.
We'll get to the racism parts. Admittedly, there's some racism, but it's all, like, unintentional racism.
It's still racism.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It is still racism.
Yeah, it's still bad. It's still real bad.
Yeah. And hey, Babacus, this is a good example of exactly what not to do with your game. So I hope you're paying attention here. Because there's a lot of rookie mistakes made in this. And, you know, I wouldn't pick this apart if it was a bad idea to begin with. Like, there's no point in going through Fatal and pointing out where the rules don't make sense and stuff, because Fatal is just a terrible idea to begin with. But Chaos 6010, this actually is a pretty cool idea. It just doesn't work as written.
I also think that it would probably be somehow against YouTube's TOS to even talk about the things that are wrong with Fatal.
That is very true. So, here's a weird thing that Chaos does. Attributes and attribute levels. Am I on YouTube? Yes, I am on YouTube. There is a link somewhere, and I'm sure I could grab it.
We'll find it.
Yeah.
We'll find it.
But yes,
all of his stuff ends up there. Unedited, because we don't do that, apparently.
Yeah, I'm too lazy to edit my streams. But, yeah, we're out there. This is actually the first time we've done a book rather than a video game. But I'm going to go through this entire book. Not in one session, but it will happen. Anyway, so this is where it's a little goofy. So you have whatever the raw number is that you've rolled. Am I live streaming on YouTube at the same time? No, I don't live stream on both. I do my streams on Twitch, and then I pop the recording over there. So depending on what your attribute is that you rolled, like say you got a strength of 15, that is considered actually a level 4 or a rank 4 attribute, and you would actually roll a d10. It's a confusing idea, but it's not something that he came up with himself. This has appeared in other games. Earth Dawn uses a step table like this, very similar. We'll go over how this works. This is only for skills and attribute checks, and not for combat. It scales very aggressively, but there's two things that we need to talk about in relation to these dice here. The first is maximum continuance, which is the most awkwardly phrased way of saying exploding dice. If you're not familiar with that term, with exploding dice, when you roll a die, if you roll the maximum on that die, like say you're rolling a d6 and you roll a 6, then you take another die and you roll that and add it to your total. And if that's also a 6, you keep going. So maximum continuance applies to most of your skill checks. It applies to attribute checks, damage results, hit point recovery, and skill checks. This is not used when...
pole dancing name to maximum continuance.
This is not used when rolling character durations. I have read through this book 3 or 4 times. To this day, I do not know what a character duration is. I assume he means, like, if you cast a spell or something and it's got a random duration, that maximum continuance doesn't apply. Anyway, it doesn't apply to most other things, including, like, how many hit points you start with and stuff, and what attributes you roll for your character creation. So why are you bringing it up in character creation is beyond me. Because it doesn't apply in character creation. But anyway, it tells you what the attributes represent. We won't go into that right at the moment. It talks about target numbers. That's pretty standard. So if you're making a check, like I said, like say your strength is 15, then that corresponds to a level 4. You'd roll a d10 to make that check. Pretty simple and straightforward. You just got to remember to actually convert it to the skill level or the attribute level, and then convert that into dice. A couple extra steps, but whatever. The other bad thing to note here is there's 2 rules. One of them is maximum continuance, which has a really stupid name, but is perfectly fine. The rule of 1 is the opposite, in that it has a really kick-ass sounding name, but it is not fine at all. If you roll a 1 on a die, that die is automatically, or that roll is automatically considered a fumble. If you're rolling 2 dice, just hope that the other die is not a 1-2. This is the worst possible thing that could happen. Without special abilities and talents to help, you have failed. This is a very ambiguous paragraph. There's 2 ways to interpret this. One, and the way that I tend to interpret it, is saying that if you roll a 1 on any dice, you will note that at certain levels you start rolling more dice. If you roll a 1 on any of those dice, it's an automatic fumble, and rolling a 1 on multiple dice is worse somehow. It's not specified. The other possible interpretation is that it's only a fumble if you roll a 1 on every die, in which case the odds of fumbling on a check after level 6 or 7 is so small that it's basically not worth even talking about. Like, you're not on 2d10 or 2d20 plus 2d10, you're not going to roll 4 1s probably within your lifetime. So I don't know how to interpret that. If it's...
It does sound like there's a fumble and failure are different. It does sound like a fumble is more like a, you might still succeed, but you have some sort of disadvantage.
Like, that may be how it sounds, but it specifically says that a fumble is a failure.
Where does it say a fumble is a failure?
Without special abilities and talents to help, you have failed.
No. See, that's in reference to if you are rolling 2 dice, just hope the other's not 1-2. This is the worst possible thing that could happen. Without special abilities, talents to help, you have failed. That is only in reference to if you roll 2 1s. Like if you roll all 1s, that's the worst thing that could happen. It's an automatic fail.
See, now that's a perfectly valid interpretation, but it's not the one that I had when I read this paragraph. which just goes to show, again, that this is incredibly vague. And depending on whether or not this is any die that's a 1 is a failure, or every die has to be a 1 to fail, like, that really changes things. Because if it's any die being a 1 is a failure, then the more dice you roll, the more likely you are to fail.
Yeah, and the way I interpret it is that any die being a 1 is that, okay, you could still succeed based on the numbers, like, adding up right, but you have a fumble of some kind. You have some kind of disadvantage. You didn't get 100% of what you wanted.
Yeah.
Whereas if you roll more than one, then you have not only fumbled, you have an automatic fail. Like, you do not succeed, no matter what the other dice say.
And that's possible, but if that's the case, then, like I said, once you get above like a level 6 or 7, you basically don't ever have to worry about that coming into play, because it almost never will.
I mean, I could see you possibly rolling 2 1s. If you're rolling like 4 dice, then yeah, three or 4 dice. I could see you getting 2 1s every once in a great while. Just
but does it have to be 2 or more, or does it have to be all?
If it says that's also unclear. It says if you are rolling 2 dice, and I'm assuming that is an example.
Yes.
Then just remember that is not also a 1. And if we carry that forward, then yes, it would have to be all of them. But it could mean 2 or more. Which is a failure.
It really doesn't take into account, or it doesn't happen until you hit skill level 17, which is quite a ways into the game. That's like around like.
Yes, you have to get through a lot of punishment to get to level 17.
Yeah, you'd be talking about like equivalent D&D level of about like 15 or 16 for a character. So like, yeah, you're probably not going to hit that point in an average game, but like, it's still very unclear. And as we'll see later, this is the abridged version of this table. This goes on much longer.
Good God. Yes, because there's 100 levels, remember?
Yes, there are. Okay, so most of this stuff in here is just boring, normal stuff. We're not going to talk about it because it's perfectly serviceable. Special attributes. For figuring out these special attributes, follow these instructions. Physical beauty is configured. Again, he uses configured, and I hate that, because configuring to me means that you're taking numbers that you already have and adjusting them in some way. But he's actually talking about generating this attribute, like creating it from scratch, and that to me is not configuring it. But it's a nitpick. It's his chaosism. Like, I don't think he's using the word technically wrong. It just seems wrong to my ear. Anyway, you roll 2 10-sided dice, add the result together. A result of 2 is real ugly. A result of 10 or 11 is pretty average, and 20 is very beautiful. Physical beauty represents how others of their own race find them attractive. Most other races of extreme differences see the race as strange looking or ugly, no matter what their PB is. Some races are close enough in physical form to be found attractive, such as Eldrin and Human. The fun thing about physical beauty is that he makes you roll this, and like, you can actually take damage to your physical beauty attribute with attacks that disfigure. But as far as I can tell, physical beauty is never used in the game to make any kind of check ever. Like,
it's implied that you would use it, but then it's never expanded upon or given like an example or demonstrated.
Exactly. It's never actually used. They just talk about it. There's even a skill that is specifically for hooking up with random people, and that skill keys off of charisma and not physical beauty. This is for, like, you know, you go to a club and you pick up chicks, and there's a skill for that, and that skill does not take your physical beauty into account. So, like, being attractive... I mean,
if it did, Leisure Suit Larry would get nowhere.
Being attractive in the Chaos universe doesn't get you anything. It's all the charisma.
It's like implied that it should get you something. Like it's like they're saying, yeah, it works the way like intimidate or
yeah. It's
gosh, any of the other things that you could possibly use would work, but all of those things are already accounted for under charisma, so they don't build anything off of it. And the only thing I can think of that would be feasible would be maybe role playing.
Yeah.
This game really doesn't talk about role playing very much.
No, it doesn't. And in fact, there's
it's all about the space magic murder hoboing.
Yeah. This is actually the most that it goes into about role-playing your physical beauty is 2 is very ugly, 10 or 11 is average, 20 is very beautiful. Like,
so it's like, by the way, you might be really pretty.
Yeah. It has no effect on the game whatsoever, but you still have to determine it. Spirit. Your spirit is based on your race. It says that humans have a slight advantage in spirit because they start with a 12. There's actually another race that has a higher spirit than that. I don't know why they don't signal them out as well. The cyberware system in this game is based on, if not ripped wholesale from, the cybernetic system in Shadowrun. Thank you. Where you get, like, your spirit is, like, basically your body's tolerance for cybernetics. And you can't decrease it to nothing because your body will reject it or some shit like that.
Well, in Shadowrun, it has a different knock-on effect, basically, that the more you put cybernetics in, the less spirit you have, so the less likely you can use magic.
Yeah, there's no such system in here, although I think that...
I think that's what they were attempting to go with.
I think in this game, there is a rider for, like, magic that's basically, if you have any cybernetics whatsoever, then your mana gets halved. But that's just an all or nothing thing, like, and it doesn't get worse the more cybernetics you have. Anyway, cybernetics are bad. We'll talk about it, but they're a terrible way to make your character more powerful because it basically just makes them weaker. Mana is
definitely what you want.
What?
I said that's definitely what you want. You want to use the cool thing that makes you worse.
Yeah, exactly. You that's everybody's power fantasy is that they've got cool stuff that makes their character explicitly worse at being a hero.
It's like putting a spoiler on, like, a Toyota Camry.
Yep. Mana is willpower plus 1d6. Spirit is already determined. Mana is, why did it do that? It went ahead and just redefined them after telling us how to configure them. And now I'm doing it, god damn it. Configured. It's generated. Determined. Not configured.
You're using configured because that's the language that they're using. That's perfectly fine.
And then there's attributes.
If they want to repurpose language to create their Magic Space game, I think that's the least of their problems.
I mean, that's fair. And then we have attribute stats, damage modifier, weight allowance. I actually like how they do a weight allowance in this game. Instead of having, like, just encumbrance in pounds like D&D does in every edition, and it's stupid because it makes you count every frickin' arrow and shit. In this, it's just you have a certain tolerance based on what your strength attribute is, and you can just use equipment that's up to that level. So, like, if you have a strength of 20, you can use up to heavy equipment. But you can't use very heavy. It's simple, straightforward, to the point. You don't have to deal with how many pounds am I carrying. It's just I can use equipment that's up to this level and then just, use reasonable guidelines in your head for everything else. Defense and initiative modifier. This is based on dexterity. It gives you a defense bonus because, of course, it does, making dexterity, once again, one of the most powerful attributes in every game. Toughness. This is basically natural body armor. You only get it for having a very high body attribute, and it's super, super valuable because it stacks with regular armor. Movement is based on race and dexterity. Body save. Body save is important because there's really bad stuff that happens if you fail it. For instance, deadly poisons will cause a character to make a body save attempt in order to keep from being poisoned. The body save must be rolled on a 20-sided die, and the result must meet or exceed, not succeed, the character's body save. When a character takes 90% of total hit points, a body save must also be made. When this amount of damage is made in one attack and they fail their body save, they must roll on the trauma table. You do not want to roll on the trauma table. They often lose body parts when this happens. Yeah. Yes, it sucks. Try not to let it happen.
Sounds like something that you would do at like a really wild party.
Yeah.
Like, I did so many body saves last night, man.
Chi, or ki, depending on how you want to pronounce that, is body plus willpower, and it's basically mana, but for martial arts. Because weeaboo. Mental resistance is like body armor for the mind, and there's basically no way to get it other than to have good willpower attributes, so, try to have that if you can. Magical defense, same thing. Frenzy pool.
I want to make a really, low intelligence character with, a really high willpower.
Yeah.
So that you look like you're hiding all the secrets of the universe because your character doesn't talk much. But in reality, all they're trying to do is, figure out how to spell mozzarella.
Oh, my lord. Frenzy. It says here that Frenzy kicks ass. Yes and no. We'll talk about Frenzy when we get to, the part about how you use it. But everybody starts with 2 points. And I have ideas for making Frenzy much more useful. But, again, we'll talk about that later. And then hit points are for, it's based on your body plus whatever your race gives you. And for some reason, it's got this broken out into 2 sections, despite the fact that, the hit points is really just one subject. And then we go into combat training. And combat training is basically specialization. It gives you a bonus to hit. And basically you can't get this at character creation. So why are you telling me about this in the section on character creation? Seriously.
Okay, is this something that you're supposed to keep in mind as you do character create and then you do it later? Is there any reason for that? Is there something that keys off of that?
No. Literally no.
Oh.
It's something that you can only get when you level up, and it should be something that's addressed in the level up section because it doesn't have anything to do with anything related to character creation. It's just additional bonus to hit with certain types of weapons.
There is a level up section, right?
There's a section that talks about leveling up, yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, this is a book that has a section for things that it doesn't even, actually use. So I was hoping they would have a section for that.
Yeah. And then there's this picture, and to this day, I have no idea what this is a picture of. This kind of looks like an eye, and this like an ear, I guess. But
yes, that's exactly what it is.
Okay, but then like, what's this?
That's a beard.
Is that a beard? What?
That's a frowny face. That line right there is a frown, and then the sharp spiky bit is like a beard.
I mean, okay, but what's
that's
this?
Jaw.
That's
the hollow in like right underneath his cheekbones.
And this is the nose then?
Yes.
What's this then?
That's like a weird like nasal ridge. I'm not saying this person had an understanding of like how to make things look correct anatomically, but they're also drawing a magical space alien.
Okay. I will go with what you said. Folks, these are the attribute tables. This is just strength and dexterity. Strength.
It looks like the probability tables in like the beginning of like my statistics textbooks.
Yeah. And wait until you see this like here. So damage mod, once you hit 15 it's +1. Then every point of strength after that adds another +1. Weight allowance, it goes up to very heavy at 20. Beyond that, it's always just very heavy. Now, there are these 2M, 2H, 2VH. That means that you can have 2 medium-sized weapons, 2 heavy-sized weapons, 2 very heavy. But it seems to me like you could basically condense this down into a chart that, say, goes up to 20, and then just say, after this point, just add +1 to damage, and also, like, you get to use two heavy, you get to dual wield heavy weapons at 30 and very heavy weapons at 50, and you basically...
No, that would save paper and not scare the readers.
Yeah. And this goes up to, it starts jumping large numbers down here, but this goes up to almost 600. Like, bear in mind, this is human maximum. Some races may have better than that. That's human maximum at character creation, and it goes up to almost 600. Same with dexterity. And again, dexterity has a defense mod and a move mod, and if you look, they go up at the same rate, up to a point, and then they max out. It seems like you could just say, like, well, it goes up to this, and then it maxes out. Here's body. Remember body saves and how you have to get better than whatever on a D20? So for a human with maximum body attribute, their body save is a 15. Meaning you have to roll a 15 or better on a D20. So there's a 75% chance you will fail every body save you make if your character has maximum. Today we are just analyzing the book because this is a hell of a thing. So yeah, we are just going through the book today. I don't know if we will do a actual live play session.
You should.
But
good Lord, don't put me through that again. Oh no. Oh, it was so bad.
We did try this once, and it was pretty bad.
Remember the trying to like hack our way through the door that didn't matter?
Yep. I remember. I remember all of that shit from that starter adventure.
Remember the way too many guards and the like round after round after round where no players or NPCs were able to hit anybody with bullets.
Yep. I remember. I remember all of it because...
Or the most effective tactic, crawling around on the floor.
Oh, yes.
People in the ankles with your
Yes,
knife.
because some attacks would knock you prone, and there was no disadvantage to being prone, but you were a smaller target.
Yep. Like, it actually does give you an armor bonus when you're prone, and there's no penalty to speed. You can just crawl at, a full gallop.
Yeah, at one point, I'm pretty sure that my final desperate attempt attack, because I ran out of things that I could do and ran out of ammunition, was to speed crawl at a terrifying rate across the floor of the warehouse and attempt to use bite on a guard's ankle. And predictably, I missed.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I wasn't going to kill him even if I'd hit him. Just so you know, it was like, I just looking at my character sheet, like fully just beyond any ability to just handle the situation, like emotionally.
Oh yes, it was
just checked out, and I was like, oh hey, apparently I have bite as an ability. My race can you just bite things? Okay.
I do want to point out that that starter adventure is basically impossible for a party of first level characters. That first fight has you pitted against 3 guards who are levels 2 and 3, and like in this game, levels, especially early on, really matter. And yeah, it's basically an impossible fight.
They wiped the floor with us.
And that's the easiest fight in that adventure. Like, they get harder from there.
They managed to actually hit us.
Okay. Now it goes into telling us about the different breakdown of the character class templates, but it doesn't tell us what the character classes are again. And the thing is, it's not going to tell us what the character classes are until a couple of chapters from now. So why are you telling me how to read these frickin' entries in the character class template, but you're not going to put the character templates here? You're going to put them 20 pages in. Like, just, we're not even going to worry about it right now. And then you pick your skills. Religious belief. So you have to pick one of these. This basically determines like what your path to the afterlife is going to be. It says here, each character has a religious belief, even if they do not follow the path of the light or darkness. Old religions have nearly been cast away, and they are now considered cults by those who follow the order. So confirmation that Christianity and Islam and Judaism and all of those are considered cults in this game. A player may choose...
There are real cults in the game, but those are among them.
Yes. A player may choose to follow an ancient religion if they wish it. There are no limitations. The order is spread through the many star systems. It has taken over old religions and even those of alien races. Spiritual influence is a % chance that only the game master rolls. So basically, the Path of Light worships stars as divinity, and they respect life and creation. Path of Darkness worships black holes, and their religion is based on, destruction and harm. And that makes sense because traditionally, human beings tend to worship divinity or divine creatures that they know for a fact are evil. Spoiler alert, literally no...
Star Wars.
Sorry?
I said cough, Star Wars.
Spoiler alert here, literally no culture on Earth voluntarily worships entities that they know are evil, aside from, like, small groups like Satanists, and even then, like, LaVey Satanists...
are just doing it to piss off the Christians.
LaVey Satanism and...
Satanist group you're talking about too, because some of them just are humanitarians.
Yeah.
Or human. I can't remember what the term
Humanist?
is, but like they are humanist. Yes, humanist. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, then you get the Path of the Void, Purgatory, the Realm of Shadows, which is a hell of a mouthful. If you don't choose a religion, so if you don't choose light or darkness, you get this. And they don't worship anything, and then they are forced into the void after death. That's cool. So,
neat.
Yeah.
So, when you die, you can be thrown into a star, you can be chucked out of an airlock, or you can be shot into a black hole.
Exactly.
Neat.
Then you get the heretic. A heretic wishes to destroy the new religion. That's not what a heretic is. They care not for faiths and even despise them. They are violent in their acts against the religious orders, and one day hope to bring about the downfall of them. Again, that's not what a heretic is. The GM may still consider this as a path of the void. So, you can be a heretic who hates religion, because that's a thing, but you still have a religious belief in this game's cosmology. Or you can be an old religion. Like, smaller religious groups, etc.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. I'll give you a second to talk in just a second. But, like, you can be a cultist, but the cultist gets slotted into one of these three depending on their religious beliefs, too. So, yeah. You have to be either light, dark, or shadow. Sorry, light, dark, or the void, purgatory, the realm of shadows.
Yeah. I still like the headcanon that, like, your burial rites are dictated on that. Like, I'm just imagining them filling a starship that's just, like, full of corpses, and depending on, like what your religion was, and I especially like the idea that the void ones literally just get shot out of the airlock, and
Yep.
are just floating endlessly through space, occasionally becoming a hazard.
That honestly would be fun and cool and far more interesting than anything that this game has presented us with so far.
If you hit a corpse at light speed, does it matter?
I mean, it might matter to the corpse. I honestly don't know.
I don't know if they would be. I don't know if they would be matter anymore if they could hit at light speed.
That's fair. Spiritual influence. This is basically a fixed chance that if you die or are about to die, a divine entity may choose to intervene on your behalf. It starts at 2% for most classes. Religious classes, it starts at 10%.
I need to know when the Void Daddy is going to come save my butt.
Yeah, I know. Like, it doesn't make much sense that there would be deities who save characters from the void, because, like, you know, the entire point of that is that you don't believe in divine beings.
I can't wait till the essence of nothingness, till nihilism itself says, nah, you're not ready to embrace the silence yet.
Raw entropy in mortal form comes down and is like, no, let me intervene on this one.
Yeah, it just says, you know what feels real chaotic today? Just a big ol' fuck you, live longer.
Entropy can never decrease in the universe, unless I choose to.
Yeah, basically, you thought you were going to shuffle off that mortal coil.
Anyway, spiritual influence doesn't come up very much unless you are a religious character. Height, weight, personality. Character traits and ghost points. This is a fun section here because they give you 5 ghost points. Ghost points are used to start in cool points. It's awesome that you explained that, game, because I don't know what ghost points are, and I don't know what cool points are.
Oh, good God, I forgot about the cool points.
Yep, cool points.
No.
So, Cool points are like XP, and you reinvest them in your character. Ghost points are like cool points, but they go away after character creation. So you spend them or you lose them. And then there's a flaws and quote-unquote values in most games. They call these perks. And like every game system that has ever existed that uses perks and flaws, this one is horrendously broken. And it does say here that you can't possess a flaw and a value that would cancel each other out. So blah, blah, blah. So like you get various flaws here, and they range quite a bit in how terrible they are. For instance, here, addiction. The GM may decide when the character must make a willpower attribute check in order to focus their minds on other things. So, like, you get distracted because you're an addict. The only problem is that it doesn't tell you how often the game master gets to fuck around with your character like this. And it doesn't tell you what the target for that willpower attribute check should be. So, hope your GM likes you, because otherwise, that's a good way for them to fuck with you. There's another one here. Arch enemy. You have a nemesis that's at least 2 levels higher than them at all times. And they have backup and they know your every move and blah, blah, blah. That sounds bad. Like, your character is running away from a powerful NPC. Here's the thing, though. Your character's going to end up running away from powerful NPCs in the course of the game. Like, that's just how games work. Games like this. Like, you're going to make enemies. There's going to be NPCs that are after you. And of course, they're going to be higher level than you, because they're going to be a threat to the entire party at once. You always punch up. You don't punch down. So, if this is going to happen anyway, you might as well invest in this and get points for it. You get these flaws, you get points for taking these. So you get 5 extra points for having an arch enemy that you're gonna have anyway. You might as well get points for it. Blind. Here's a great one. Character does not possess the ability of sight. They use all other senses as perception. They receive a -2 to perception. They must get blind fighting and shooting skills or suffer -4 to attack and defend. I ran the math on that. And it gives you 8 ghost points, but it takes away 2 attribute points and forces you to buy at least one of those 2 skills. And those are very expensive skills to buy. It ends up costing you something on the order of 40 points to buy back the stuff that takes away. And it only gives you 8 points for it. So that's a net loss. That's a net loss of over 30 points. So don't take that one. And then some of them are really stupid. Like here, Lost Love. The character is almost completely obsessed with the memory of a lost loved one. The fun they had together and the joy they once shared is no longer there. That's sad. Now life seems to have no meaning without them. Willpower check when around something that reminds the character of the lost love, or fall into a depression or violent shift of emotions. So you have a saving throw versus feeling sad. That's seriously what it is. A saving throw to prevent being sad. And like character values.
I wish I could get a saving throw against being sad though. That is actually my magic space fantasy come to life.
Yeah, we all wish we could do that. Emotionless here, at a cost of 5 points, you can sever your emotions from causing you mental anguish. That's a hell of a chaosism right there. They may gain an additional willpower check in some cases, such as fear, hatred, sorrow, or falling in love. a saving throw versus love. Because that's a thing you needed. Some of these are just really, really dumb. And some of them are incredibly overpowered. Like these ones, like here, +2 to body. And it doesn't say that it can't exceed your normal 18 human maximum for body. So that could bump you up to 20. I'm assuming. And then there's the insanity table. You don't want to have to roll on this. There's a couple of ones that give you that as a flaw. Tormented, for instance, gives you a 1 roll on the insanity table. And there is another one. Where is it? Insanity. Both of these are functionally identical. They both give you a roll on the insanity table. So usually the insanity table is not that bad. Like you could end up with a very mild case of bibliomania, where you are obsessed with collecting books. But you could also end up with a severe case of homicidal mania, where you're obsessed with killing. And there is a small chance of getting insomnia. Can't sleep, will not gain mana or chi. Yeah. If you are a spellcaster or a martial artist, this basically completely screws you over. There's a chance here that tells you how likely it is that you're going to have an episode. But this is completely pointless because it's completely abstracted from anything else. Like it says you've got a 10% chance of, say, pyromania. Okay, great. So there's a 10% chance that pyromania will kick in. When? When do I roll that 10% chance? Like when do I check for that? Crickets.
Whenever you're around school children.
Yeah, like there's no guidelines whatsoever. And it does say that the GM can also decide that some can be active at all times. So, yeah, do not take insanity. It's bad. It will screw you over completely. And even if it doesn't... Oh, sorry?
I was going to say, and this, once again, that we have yet another mechanic of the game that relies heavily on how much the DM likes you personally.
Yep. There's a lot of those.
And, you know, that's a little bit inherent in every game. You have to have a lot of trust between players and the DM to rule fairly and try not to, you know, just wholesale murder everybody or cause, like, weird unfairness and infighting. But this game just sets you up for situations where that could happen, like, just by accident.
Yep. Absolutely it does.
It hands you terrible situations that if you didn't know better you could fall into. Because you might look at this and be like, you know what, insanity? There's not a huge chance that, like, I'll get anything terrible. There's a chance, but, like, let's just roll it and see it. Maybe you get something that isn't that bad, and then your DM says, well, you know, realistically, actually, this would happen all the time. So I guess you're screwed now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nobody meant any harm, but your character is now really not going to have a good time.
Yep. After we go through that, we get 25 steps to character creation, which would have been nice at the start of this section on character creation, even though we haven't actually gotten to the point where we can actually make a character in this character creation section. Choose a race, choose a class. Here it suggests using point buy for attributes first and then the dice rolling as a second option. which you absolutely should do the point by because, as mentioned, it gives you better attributes overall on average. Modify attributes according to your race. Fill in all the stats. Fill in skills by bonus skills. Choose languages. Fill in racial abilities. Fill in equipment. Configure starting money. Determine. It's determined starting money. If you have cyberware, fill it in on your sheet. If the cyberware alters your attributes, go back and recheck your attributes and fill those in correctly. Choose your religious beliefs. Fill in your character description. Roll your physical beauty. Here it says that you get 3 tries with physical beauty. Before it just said 1. And again, physical beauty never referenced again outside from a few like disfiguring attacks that are able to damage it. Determine spells. Use ghost points. Buy traits. After attributes or alter attributes and attribute stats if needed. Like you keep going back over and like redoing work that you've already done because things change later on. This is ridiculous. You should not have to do that. That's just bad design, poor forethought. If you have to go back and alter something after, like, if you have to do work twice, then somebody somewhere along the line was not doing their job planning this out properly. Figure name or alias, jot in level 1, and you are ready to effing die.
He ain't lying there.
Yeah, you will absolutely die. And then we got full page artwork. This is apparently a street scene, but
it kind of looks like a church.
I mean, these are buildings. This is a flying saucer that also looks like a very small dick and balls. Flying backwards, of course.
It's a rocket ship.
This is a person in a cloak next to an arcade game. I don't know if this is a car that we're looking front on or if this is like some kind of like UFO or I don't know.
There's a lot going on.
You see an arcade game in that? I don't know. I don't even know what that is. It looks like he's trying to buy cell phones.
That could be, I guess. And then here we get
the caption under it. What does it say?
It says, "Looking down into the sickening streets that slithered with wretched life, a feeling came to me like a storm. It rose in my skull like thunder. They must all suffer unimaginable torment. I must make them pay for their existence."
Oh, so this is the game designer to its audience.
Yes, I mean, clearly that is the famous words of Azadius, the executioner of the 67th gate. Like,
geez, thanks, Warsash, for your, friggin' input.
Yeah. Here is the,
I totally butchered his name, but you know who I mean.
Yeah. Here's the extremely, extremely ugly character sheet. Mostly ugly because of this section right here. Like, this needs to be cleaned up. This stuff over here is not actually that bad. And it does have a copy of your attribute and skill levels and how they convert to dice. I would personally have some lines or shading or something in this table to make it easier to reference, but...
Yeah, clean white sheet, not that design back there. That's
yeah.
Messy.
Yeah, the design in the background is a bad idea. At the very least, it needs to be fainter. But then we get 2 races. You Pezzy human. What the heck is a Pezzy human?
If you tilt its head back, it shoots out candy.
I guess. So anyway, these are the playable races. I don't know what the point of this is, but he's got this set up so that you could random roll what race you wanted something to be. There are 21 different races in this game. And before we get into the races, I do want to say, actually it's 9:14, so maybe we'll just kind of stop here because I want to tackle the races as their own thing, because this is the one section of the book that I really like. I really like the races of this game. They are interesting. They are cool for the most part. There's some are better than others, but this is the part of the game where I feel like the creators' creativity really shines forth. And there are some races in here that I have legitimately poached for other games because they're just that interesting to me. I definitely think that if you're going to buy this game, which, by the way, it is available on DriveThruRPG. I will put a link to it when I load this onto YouTube. I'll have a link to the storefront on the description of the video, so you can get a copy of this. They are supposedly working on a second edition of Chaos 6010, but they've been supposedly working on it for a few years now. I don't know that it's going to happen.
It's been a while.
But I do want to leave off here and not tackle the aliens just yet, because they are actually really cool and interesting, and with a few exceptions, they're mostly not the bog standard science fiction stuff. This is actually neat shit. So
I will say that a couple of the options in there are where you really see the racism, but yes, by and all, the creativity really shines.
Yes, and yeah, there are
them in there just they just are downright offensive and wrong, but the rest of them are super neat.
Yeah. And there are a few that I will say, like the Eldrin and the Mongru in particular, and the Org. Those are elves, dwarves, and orcs, respectively, and they are exactly what you think they are. They're very boring. Nothing much happened with them. But then you
have to include them anyways.
Yeah. You get to some of these other ones, though, and like some of them are really, really interesting. You get cat people whose entire like memories as a species have been stolen. Undead cyborg is a possible race choice.
Which is just really cool.
Yeah, there's a race that is a aggressive parasite that takes over host bodies. Yeah, there's some interesting shit in here, but we will tackle that, I think, next time. There's so much more of this book. We're on page 27 out of 300, and it's not going to get faster to go through this.
God.
It's a hell of a thing. We will have to play this, I think, at some point, just to show people that terrible, terrible starter adventure.
You know, you say we will have to. I feel like that word does not mean what you think it means.
That's fair, I suppose. Anyway,
You're probably gonna sucker me into it anyways, but whatever.
I probably will. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. I know this was not what you guys were expecting. I usually do video games, but this is a game that I really feel like a deep dive on this is... it's interesting to me. I don't know if it's interesting to you guys, but it's interesting to me. And there's a lot of issues here, but there's a lot of stuff to take away from this. And, you know, it's going to get better, and then it's going to get a lot worse. And then it's going to become a hell of a slog for a long time. But,
Ready, sell it.
Yeah. So we'll deal with that next time we tackle this. We might do Temtem again next week, or something. I don't know. We might shake it up a bit, but thank you guys for tuning in tonight and watching. I hope you got something out of this that was worthwhile. Until next time, guys, we'll see ya. Meph, you want to sign off?
Bye.
Bye.